What exactly is Deion saying here?
Well, I can't necessarily speak to what Deion. That's right. I mean, I'm not in his brain. But here's the way I look at it. There's a multitude of things that he could be possibly saying.
Multitude.
Right?
Yes.
Because this is a big pool, right? Number one, the one that stands out on the list in terms of the test is that he's black. That's number one. That's the number one thing he could be saying. Because there may be some truth to that. I don't know. I'm not one to always scream, because he's black. I'm just not that built like that. Mm-hmm. But I'm not oblivious to the fact that that could be the case. Secondly, the jealousy factor. The jealousy factor. Here's a young man, and I don't want to call Deion a young man, but you know what I'm saying. Here's a guy.
He lives young. He acts young.
Yes, he has done it his way.
Yes, he has.
Right, Skip and Sherman, no matter what anyone says. And so then when you look at that, you have to now say, well, that's not the way I was told to do it. So there's number two. Number three, if you take, and it's so crazy because I meant to do the calculations of how many head coaches in the Power Five plus other ones, how many commercials they got, I just didn't do it. But between him and Uncle Nick Saban, they got about 9,000 commercials. Deion been on the scene for about a week.
Yeah.
And that brings jealousy and rage with other coaches that want to see failure. They want to see failure. Remember yesterday I talked and people looked at me and I was getting texts like, oh, man, you lying, stop making stuff up. No, I ain't got to make nothing up. The truth of the matter is, at the end of the day, yes, coaches do trade information week in and week out, just like players trade information. But the information that was traded was a heavy emphasis on wanting to make sure that you beat him, not because you need the W, but because you want to see him crash and burn.
I loved it that you reported that.
Well, it's more about, I get it, Skip, but it's not really about reporting. It's more about telling the truth of what it is. Because I don't gain anything by just saying something. So when you look at it, Sherm, on the surface, I think there's just many different reasons as to why people feel a certain way about Deion Sanders. He's successful. He's a nice-looking brother. He's doing it his way. And on top of that, he's making a ton of money when other people have been trying to do the same things for a long, long time, and he's done it overnight. That's how I look at it.
Go, Richard.
Hey, Keyshawn, Skip, it's just like every other thing in life. Jealousy comes when people don't feel like you've taken the road they've taken. They feel like you haven't done the things they've done. You haven't put in the work they put in. That's what he's dealing with. He's dealing with these coaches that are like, I've coached for 15 years and I went from quality control and assistant to a GA to this, to that. And it didn't matter to Prime. Prime went his way. And they're like, hey, at least Saban won all these national championships. That's why he's getting the commercials. Why is Prime in the commercials? Because he's Prime. So there's that jealousy factor. I talked about it yesterday. And that's what it is. That's what I believe it is. It's frustration and jealousy. It's almost like the favorite kid of your family. You know what I mean? Somebody's the favorite son or the favorite daughter, and they get treated so much better than everybody else. These coaches are like, man, my team's winning. My team's doing good. We're a top 5 program. We're a top 10 program, and we're not getting the kind of attention he's getting. He just got here. His team was 1-11 last year, and now he's here. He wins a couple games, and they get everything. It doesn't matter. That's why jealousy develops. That's why this kind of animosity, this angst, this vitriol is developing, because he is doing a good job, but he's doing it an unconventional way, and it's like instant success, instant acclaim. But it's prime. It's prime time. That's why it's instant acclaim. That's why they call him prime time, because people pay to see him do whatever he was doing. If he was cooking noodles and had a chef show, people, I guarantee you, their ratings would be through the roof, because it's prime doing it.
I don't know about the food taste, though.
Deion, hey.
Right? Hey. Right, Skip? You say, like you said, Deion, I don't know. We mess around to be Michelin star messing with Deion.
All right, allow me to point out, the reporter interviewing Deion is white. His name is Brett, I hope I get his last name right, Schrotenboer. And This was part of the Aflac deal that requires Deion to do an occasional setup interview.
Yes.
So again, this is part of a deal. He's actually, in effect, getting paid to do this. Maybe his heart wasn't in doing the interview, so he's not going to give in to the white reporter's question exactly. He's basically challenged him. No, you answer this. I don't work this way. I'm not built this way. And allow me to attest. I covered Deion in Dallas when he was a football player. And he came to Dallas as a Super Bowl champion, and he literally tilted the playing field in favor of the Dallas Cowboys because they turned right around and won that year's 1995 championship. The Deion I was around in the locker room was extremely quiet. And I'm going to read a quote out of this same article from Deion. He says, "Even when I played, everybody thought I talked. I never talked," and he meant negatively about opponents. "I just really had a good time with the media, and I talked about me. I never spoke of my opponent. You can't find one clip of me speaking negatively about my opponent, period. I don't believe in that. I don't condone that." I will second that emotion. He did not speak out. He wasn't a trash talker on the field. You and Richard would get into it because you were built differently than Deion was. Deion just played. He didn't talk at all. If you engaged with him, he might return fire.
But and I can
He's not
attest,
going to initiate.
I can attest to that, exactly what you're saying, having played
Because
against
you went
Deion.
head to head. Yeah.
And we just had fun. It was laughing.
Yeah, just playing. So he's saying, I don't do this. I don't need to defend myself. How about you stand up, Mr. Reporter, and you tell the truth about what's going on, because I've been telling you and Richard and Michael Irvin for several weeks since we started on this show that it's about jealousy and resentment of white coaches to the black coach, and some black coaches who paid their dues, because we saw what Jay Norvell said.
Absolutely.
I'm going to read Jay Norvell's quote of 2 weeks back now, Colorado State's head coach. "When I talk to grown-ups, I take my hat and my glasses off. That's what my mother taught me." And we all sat back and said, wait a second, or at least I did. And I said, now we have one of the few black head coaches in America. There are 14 out of 133 FBS schools, 14 of 133. We have one of the few taking a personal, if not cultural shot at one of the few black head coaches. Really, we had that just a couple of weeks back, right? So it's not just a black-white thing, although to your first point, yeah, you can say primarily that.
Yeah.
But even when we talked about Coach Saban lauding Deion, saying he's a great coach and he's a great guy, I believe that Coach Saban believes Deion is a great guy because they've spent a whole lot of time together doing Aflac commercials.
Yeah, of course.
But do I think in Nick's heart of hearts he thinks Deion's a great coach? I do not, and I could be wrong about that. But I'm going to call BS on this only because Nick paid huge dues to get to where he is, as Richard brought up.
I think Coach Saban, though, see, when you are shooting commercials with somebody or you're interacting with someone, you are talking football, believe it or not.
Oh, I'm sure.
So I'm sure
there's a lot of
Nick
downtime.
a lot of downtime. So I'm sure Nick and Deion have talked certain things about football. What do you do here? What do you think about this? Through those conversations. So I think Nick really believes that Deion is an excellent football coach.
I don't know if he believes he's a great one yet, because Nick knows about dues. You gotta earn it over a long period of time.
That's true. But when you Deion Sanders, you don't have to put in no dues. You're not judged the same way everybody else is judged, right? When you Richard Sherman, Keyshawn Johnson, the third person, we get these seats because we took care of our business on the field.
Absolutely.
There's other people that got to wait in line. It's just the reality of it. And so with Deion, it's Deion Sanders. I want to do this. I want to coach. Magic Johnson did not have to wait to become the Lakers head coach when they needed a coach. Because guess what? I'm Magic Damn Johnson. I didn't have to wait to run the team because I'm Magic Damn Johnson. And so certain players in this league, Peyton Manning can go get a job tomorrow coaching football if he chooses that. Okay, Tom Brady signed on with the Las Vegas Raiders as an owner because it's Tom damn Brady. Okay, Keyshawn Johnson and Richard Sherman, we might have to wait a little bit if we decided that's the route we wanted to go because they're not going to just open up the door for us that way.
They're not.
So people shouldn't be mad at the fact that Deion Sanders could decide, I'm going to go coach college football, and a door opens up, and Rick George is smart enough and mindful enough to say, I need a good football coach. I don't care what color he is, because I kept hiring dudes, whether they were black or not, that's not a good football coach. Because if you think about Colorado, for instance, over the last 3 hires, I believe I could think of, I think it was the last 3 or 4 hires, 3 of them have been African-American coaches.
Good point.
Okay?
Yeah.
Embry, Calderell, and Deion Sanders.
Good. Yep.
Those are so, they're not just looking for black, they're trying to find good head coaches, and they happen to get one.
Okay. Richard, chime in.
I mean, I'm with you every step of the way. I think they are paying their dues by going through those channels, by going through the steps and the levels of coaching. Deion paid his dues by playing football at a high level. He played it at a high school level, at a high level, the college level at a high level, the National Football League at a high level, got a gold jacket that you can't buy because he played it at such a high level. And so at the end of the day, his dudes were paid. They may have been paid to a different bank than these coaches are paying to, but the dudes were paid all the same. And so maybe there are some people who've gone the route that Prime is going, and they don't deserve to be coaches. They probably can't teach it. Like Skip says, there's some dudes who can do it who can't teach it, and that's fine.
Yep.
Prime this is his calling. This is what he's built to do. This is where he has had success and where he's continuing to have success. So it just feels like something that's been beneficial to everybody, including Lanning and these other college coaches, for them to have frustration with it. He's bringing attention to college football. He's bringing eyes to the TV. He's bringing eyes to your game. He's bringing eyes to Oregon when Oregon plays Colorado. He's bringing eyes to your quarterback that you're saying doesn't get enough eyes, doesn't get enough attention. So instead of appreciating that, you say, hey, he's out here for clicks. He's out here, no substance. And it's like, that's just unnecessary. You can motivate your players because that's in a way what he was doing. But when it sounds like hating, you can say, hey, they stepped on the O. They disrespected us. The same old school stuff. Hey, you go out here, let's hit them in the mouth. Let's go out here and handle our business. These dudes out here, they don't know what's coming for them. Cool, but to say he's in it for the clicks and he doesn't have substance, that's where it started to get personal for me, and that's where it sounded like jealousy.
Okay, but wait a second. Who cares if he's in it for the clicks? Because the clicks matter. What is college football at its core, at its heart? It's a recruiter's game,
Yes,
right?
yes.
So there's another emotion operating here beyond jealousy and resentment, and it's just flat out fear among all coaches. I don't care what color they are. They're afraid of Deion because he is a lightning rod of a recruiter and a promoter. And here's some more quotes from this same interview. Deion says, what I do well and what I have a gift of is marketing. Yeah. He says, it's business. It's understanding relationships with these young men. It's a wonderful job of marketing that I can do as well as Coach Saban can do, but it doesn't work if you don't win. Okay, I got it. So he backed it up with 3 straight wins. Then they got dump trucked at Oregon, and we get that. They still have a ways to go in the offensive line, the defensive line, but they just didn't. They didn't play well at Oregon.
He's been on the job for 9 months, Skip.
Correct. I got it. And I give you and him that break and that pass. But my point is, he became the epicenter of college football almost overnight because he's Neon Deion. He is prime time. He is Coach Prime. He's the best interview in sports. When he's on my TV, when he's on the show, you just can't stop. You just suck it all up. You soak it in because you can't take your eyes or your ears off what prime time is saying.
But it's not an act.
Yeah, it's
not an act. This is exactly who Deion is. When I first met Deion back in 1996, right? Same guy in 96 as he is today. Same guy. I can show you pictures. Same guy. Nothing changes, right? He still had the chains. He still had the glasses. That's just who he is. And what happens in the recruiting aspect of things, both Richard and I have both been recruited and recruited highly. People have sat in our living rooms. Some coaches are just stale, like an old piece of bread that's just been sitting out all night long.
I'm going to say a majority of.
A majority.
A majority of. Seriously.
Okay, you can say majority. I say some because I didn't have them all in the living room, but enough. And then there's fresh bread like Deion that you just want to figure out what to do with it because it's so good and tasty and you fall for it. That is what you're dealing with in this situation. If he walks into a living room and Matt Rule walks into a living room or Dan Lanning walks into a living room.
Or throw Jay Norvell in.
Jay Norvell walks into a living room.
Throw him in, yeah.
Versus Deion Sanders.
Who do you want to
If they all go in that living room, they all go, because in recruiting, one coach goes, the other one sits out in the car and waits. Another coach goes, the other one sits out. And if Deion is the last one in, it's a wrap.
It's a wrap.
And so they know this. Even Nick Saban, 2 years ago, made a slick comment about Travis Hunter being able to flip from Florida State to Jackson State, that Deion Sanders gave him $1 million to do so.
He did.
Because that's just the rumor mill or whatever the case is. Rather than saying he's a good recruiter and the kid wants to learn from the greatest corner to ever face this earth, he says the only reason why he got him is because a HBCU school came up with $1 million. Like Deion said, they don't even pay me $1 million. So why would I pay a college kid $1 million to come to an HBC school where our water is brown? But that is where their minds are when they start thinking about a successful black man being able to do something that they've done for years. But now, since then, obviously Nick Saban has changed his tune.
Well, has he? Or is that just his public tune?
No, I think so.
Okay.
I think so. I give him that credit.
All right. So Deion, finally in this article, went on and on. He can be very humble in defeat. In victory, he can front run a little bit, and he keeps receipts. He's going to pay it back to you, right? But he was very humble in defeat the other day. We got our butts kicked. We have no excuses, because that's what he's made up. That's what his mama taught him.
Yes.
Okay, so he's saying in the interview, I know we can be better than we were at Oregon because they just didn't play well. And he says schematically, fundamentally, holistically, we just didn't play well at Oregon. I give you all the above. That doesn't mean he can't coach, because what have we raved about? What did our man Urban Meyer, one of the all-time greatest college football coaches, rave about on Big Noon Saturday? I'm going back a couple of weeks ago, the first time they were at Colorado. He raved about the staff Deion has assembled around him and under him, because it is top notch. And Urban said, well, Deion coaches the energy. Well, he coaches that, and he oversees everything. He coaches those young men. He pushes the right buttons in those young men. But don't tell me that they aren't well coached, because the whole staff is really good at what it does, and it's really experienced at what it does. And they will figure it out. You have a brand, what is it, 86 new faces? Okay, they went up against a much better team than they have faced. And that team, because of that Dan Lanning speech in that pregame locker room, came out on fire to put Deion and company back in their places. And they did it. And I give it up to them, because you saw it from the opening kickoff. They go 72 yards. They don't even go to third down one time. They just went boom, boom, boom. And then before I look up, they're going for 2 on the second touchdown to rub it in. And then they're running a fake punt, 4th down from their 17-yard. You're kidding. They're actually trying to run up the score in the first quarter. They could have run it up in the 4th, and they did not.
Like I said, though, Skip,
to your point.
Yeah, go ahead, Richard.
They was going to beat them anyway.
Okay.
They were going to beat them anyway.
Well,
to your point, Skip, it doesn't say anything about his coaching or the coaching of the Colorado Buffaloes, their staff, or anything. Dan Lanning can speak from experience, because he got mollywopped by his old Georgia Bulldogs when he first got to Oregon.
Yeah, he did.
By a score of 49-3. And nobody seems to remember this. It seems his antennas, his history books aren't remembering that. But remember, they got beat by a better team when he didn't have the players. He didn't have the players to go up against Georgia and say, hey, we're walking out of here with a W. But you know what you do? You get better. You recruit better. You continue to push the envelope. This is Deion's first year. That was Dan Lanning's first year at Oregon. I'm just saying, he can take personal shots. He can say whatever he wants. But at the end of the day, be thankful that you're going to the Big Ten after the season, and it's not going to be a consistent Pac-12 matchup like it has been, because I got a feeling that will develop into one of the better rivalries in college football just from this.
It will.
This incident.
Yeah. Maybe they'll run each other in a bowl game, but in the end, to put a cap on all this, Deion is here to stay as long as he wants to at the
Absolutely.
University of Colorado.
Yeah.
Things are only going to get better
No,
for him.
seriously. Given his magnetism, his ability to recruit young men,
Yes.
if he stays for 3 years, are they going to have a shot at a national champ? You better believe they will.
You know, the fertile ground for recruiting is 3 states, and some other people will scream and holler there's more. But the 3 states, California, Texas, and Florida. Guess what? He got California roots, he got Texas roots, and he got Florida roots.
Born and raised in Florida.
So
okay,
you're going to be in trouble.
you're just going to be in
You're
trouble.
gonna be,
and you know what? They all
have,
know it.
They have the resources now, and he knows how to recruit. They're continuing to build the resources, and as long as he stays in Colorado 2-3 years from now, gonna be in the mix.
They'll be in the mix.
They're going to be in the mix.
And I'm here to tell you, Dan Lanning will be in trouble next year. I believe he'll be in trouble when there's going to be a receipt that's going to get
he'll
paid.
be in trouble soon.
No, I think it'll be next year.
Maybe. I mean, they go into the Big Ten, so that's a different
that's true,
animal
yeah.
over there,
Yeah.
and they got to play those guys.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
All right, we got to get back to the National Football League and my Cowboys and those Eagles you saw last night. Did they prove they are now clearly the best team in the NFC East?
How we figure out how to get the Cowboys in here.
No mercy, no mercy, no mercy.
Thanks for watching, Undisputed fans. Do you want more highlights from the show? Make sure to click that subscribe button for all the exclusive content from Undisputed.